The whole Liam Kumar Day effect, not really happened.
Nigel couldn't make it.
Yeah.
I rang up Mendon all, he said he could make it.
Don't dig this hole. Phil, credit to the guy, he always manages to do well what he has to. He is a shocking personality. You guys got a trophy? No.
It was pre-bit.
No. My life from Rashad Mendon.
Right, you go. I'm a tag, Jack! I'm a fucking tag!
See, we are really rusty.
Let's start again.
It's live. It's no one's watching. Nobody knows.
That's it. Exactly that. Just like
You had a.
at that point, right? At that point, that's it. You can now hear what we're saying. That's it. So
if you could lip read, you could also know what we were saying.
Indeed.
Chris had a great time around the world.
We are really rusty.
See, there it is. Yeah,
There it is.
No kidding. It's the off season.
that's exactly that. That's it. You're not here to see us introduce the show. You're here for the race later. Let me
Exactly. Yeah. Which, if you lip read that, yeah, we've got the draft reveal, the draft order reveal in a bit. AGM recap before that, and yeah, we will be recapping the Corona Bowl. Let's just get right into that right now. We don't need to hold on any further. Let's do that. Corona Bowl 14. Here we go.
True professional. Been doing this 10 years.
Off season. It's the off season. It's first episode back. Ixan took on Gridiron Gang in Corona Bowl 14. Ixan typically had Gridiron Gang's number, and obviously Ixan are familiar with the Corona Bowl, having appeared in quite a few of the recent few years. Meanwhile, Gridiron Gang setting the record for the longest break between Corona Bowl appearances. What way would it go? Well, this game will be remembered not only for the scoreline, and as you can see here, Ixan winning 121 to 84, not the 52 that's shown there, because that gap was driven by, of course, the unfortunate event with Damar Hamlin in the Bills game, which, if you recall, this time ago, delayed the final of the longest Corona Bowl ever. Spanned about 3 weeks in the end, but ultimately, yeah, Ben did win it. So, yeah, 121 to 84. Looking down the lineup, Patrick Mahomes turned up as he did pretty much all season long for them, 31 points. Murray Cooper had a great day, 23. Jarrett McKinnon, again, lightning in a bottle for the second straight year for Ixan. He got 18 points. James Conner, 11. McCaffrey, obviously the high draft pick, 25 points there. Very good score on the other side of the board. Yeah, not really anyone turned up for Gridiron Gang. Tyler Algier, he got 16. The Eagles did got 11. And yeah, we obviously don't have the exact point splits of Mixon and Allen there, but I'm pretty sure Allen got about 26 of those additional, 31 points or so. Mixon did not do a great deal on that game, so Ixan does take the title. That's his second Corona Bowl title. Gridiron Gang lose their third Corona Bowl, and yeah, Ben was the official winner of 2022. So what did you make of the Corona Bowl final, Chris? Yeah, a weird one compared to the normal ones. So.
I was watching it from afar in Australia, yeah. And yeah, it was a bit of a strange one, I have to say. Look, I think in terms of the overall result, I think it was well deserved. I think Ben was the best team all year. He had the best record. He clearly had some real superstar players in there, though that wasn't necessarily the case at the beginning of the season. But by the season's end, that did definitely happen. So there's no doubt that the result, I think, was always kind of not in doubt. You know, when you've got a team with Mahomes and McCaffrey anyway, it's always going to be an interesting team and one that's going to score a lot of points. But when you consider, you know, the James Connors who's been in there throughout the year, you know, so just chipping in, you know, McKinnon towards the end, Amari Cooper was in there all year as well. We mustn't forget, you know, so it came good when he needed to. So to get to 121 points in the Corona Bowl final, I think it would typically be regarded as pretty high, but for this team, their past score was around 100 for most of the year. This
was the interesting thing, because my memory is slowly coming back to me of last season now that we're actually talking about it and sat here. Both these teams were not high scorers. I think that 121 probably represents, we can have a quick check here, probably represents Ixan's highest score total on the year, and my team was much the similar vein. Both teams were extremely consistent, not too high scoring. But Ben's team just in the final game right there.
Ben was absolutely 90 to 100 point merchant most of the
year. We're just bringing that up now. Here we go. So looking down Ixan's scores. So the highest point total they got. They did have a couple of 120 plus games, but as you say, more often than not. I mean, they never dipped. But this was the thing about both these teams. Neither of them dipped below 80 points the whole entire season, which I don't think. We may have seen one team do that. I'm not sure if we've seen one team ever do that, let alone have two do that in the same season. So both these teams did deserve to be here. Like you say, as we can see on the show notes here, I did pick Ben to win as well. So I also agree, a completely worthy winner.
Yeah, that's it. And that's not to slag your team off here, Nath, because I think throughout the course of the year you did change up your team a reasonable amount. There was lots of ins and outs, lots of trading, lots of waivers, and that's what's got you to that sort of wheeling and dealing, as it were, has got you to this point. So in this game, that weird game in Buffalo, was the Buffalo Cincy game was a bit of a weird one, and obviously just completely ruined that dynamic. But aside from that, the difference is it's touchdowns for other players, and Kelsey, London, Brian Robinson.
That's the thing. You take away the whole Allen Mixon thing, but outside of Tyler Algier, it's just nobody really turned up on my team. I think even bench performance wise, Kenneth Walker, he didn't get a touchdown either, and obviously wouldn't have come close to making a difference in the game. But it's just that was the story of the day. Ben's supporting cast completely turned up, and the skill position turned up, and then mine did not.
Nope, that is absolutely it. So that you got there. The fact is that that is such a difference in comparison to previous years.
It's been I've been using my new draft approach model for 3 years now, and I feel year on year I've had continued built success year on year on there. So it's not, like you say, it's a complete gear change from what was happening before that, and fingers crossed I can carry through this year. But also same to Ben. I mean, he's honed his craft, and once again, he had the one blip year after he hilariously got inducted to the Hall of Fame for that amazing string of being good GMing, but then straight back on the horse and comes back with the Corona Bowl. So there you go. Congrats, Ben. He's already got the trophy in the Corona, and as we know at the draft, he'll get the lit one as well. Speaking of which, we will just go straight into the league news now. So we will have a return of Super LOC Day. The draft and the divisional lining event will be the same day. That day is Saturday, the 2nd of September, which of course will be in person, as well as having the virtual dial-in option should you need it. The timings of which we will confirm at a later date, because we don't know at this stage, obviously, if we are going to have a football game or not, but we will flex around that.
Well, indeed,
being that early portion of September when the season starts, so that's fine. Mark that down on your calendars, make sure you can make that. The Hall of Fame nomination, I've not mentioned anything yet, but we'll obviously have the nominees again this year, and then it'll be up to the committee to decide if anything does go into the Hall of Fame. So if you do want to submit something for the Hall of Fame, do so by Saturday the 15th of July at 11:59 p.m. There you go. And then the last one, easy. The subs will be £3 again, a lean £3. That obviously gets the winner's trophy. Sorry, the small trophy. Chris is going to give me his right now, so he's guaranteeing his draft picks. There you go.
See everybody, that's it.
I'll find some change.
That's as easy as that. That's all you need. It all starts now. That's it.
Yeah, so just make sure you get me the subs there before you're on the clock, because if I do not have your subs by that point, you don't get your draft picks.
Shocking.
So, yeah.
Shocking.
It's not. I don't think it's happened yet. It's come close. I'm pretty sure.
It's terrible form. That's all I can say. That's it. No, that's it. I only have 50p in there. That's it. I don't have £3, but 5 might do. So that's it. There's no excuse, people. £3 is cheap in this money. That's it. It's inflation busting as well.
It is, exactly. Yeah, prices of everything going up. The LOC does not.
Except your LOC subs. That's it. That's it. How much fun can you have for £3 a year?
Exactly. I appreciate it.
You get all this for free. You get the pod for free.
Exactly.
You get the insight for free.
Yeah.
Well, no, you get it for £3, but we don't pay it ourselves. It all goes to what is. We are a non-profit here.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, energy bills and internet costs. We're not even apportioning any of that into this.
Exactly that. So otherwise, it would be 10 times that.
Yeah, I appreciate it's an all good amount to bank transfer, but hey, it's also no different to sending £300. Really, you hop on and do it.
Exactly.
So yeah, just make sure you get it to me. That's fine. Any other news you can think of? I don't think there's.
I don't think there
is.
We're
in the dead of the off season at the moment. We don't need to go anything further on that. We won't cover the award winners because we had all that as well. I just left that on there so I could update the accolade sheet.
I suppose for LOC though, we actually don't know what we're doing yet.
No, that's a good point.
So Ben, if you know what we're doing, then please tell us.
I don't think he even, because when I checked with him, when I checked with him, are we okay doing it on the same day or do you want it separate? He was like, I've not actually done anything. So he was going to basically do it the other way and wait until we decided what to do. So yeah, we have no idea what's going on here yet. So. Yeah,
that's not good. This
isn't the Ben we know.
We like organisation. We like creativity. So come on, Ben.
He gets his second title, and then he's just riding off into the sunset.
He's out of ideas. That's it. It's because it's not a spreadsheet. That's why.
Yeah, indeed. So, that's it for the news. Nothing else to cover there. So we'll just go into the AGM recap because why not? And come back to this later on, of course. AGM was yesterday. We talked about a fair amount of topics, but not a lot of change really ultimately happened from it. And I do need to implement on the website, so I'll remember to do that after this. So we'll just get going running through it. Get your takeaways and any further discussion points here, Chris. So the elections, basically the entire committee was re-elected again because we're all doing a pretty good job. So and nobody was complaining. So nobody else also wanted to run.
That helps.
Yeah, indeed. Committee re-elected. My 15th year as commissioner because we obviously are entering the 15th year of the league. So
that's a long time now, isn't it?
It's a very long time. Yeah. It is, don't remind me. So on to the matters that play beyond the elections then. So we had a few reviews to cover from stuff that we'd obviously changed in the year previous, where we always have that kind of checkpoint of, reviewing not necessarily controversial stuff, but, if it's a bit more of a quirky change or whatever, just to have that safety net so we can discuss it and see if we want to keep it. First of which was talking about the Superflex positions. We obviously decided to keep the Superflex format because we're all happy with that. I think most of us are happy with it at least. But we changed the position slightly in the year previous to basically, I'm not going to run through the detailed change. You could only play up to 3 Titans maximum before. We know you can obviously only play 3 running backs still and then fight up to 5 receivers. We basically just changed it to boost it that you could play 5 Titans if you really wanted to last year. I
want someone to do it.
If you're out of the playoffs and the opportunity is there and it's not completely stupid and doesn't change, I would just do it for...
If you're in a dead rubber 1 week, please
exactly.
Prove the system works.
Yeah. So we kept that because it's not game breaking. If you want to do that, it's fine.
It's game breaking for the person who does it.
Well, it ruins their game. Yes. So we reviewed the fumble scoring. So we did change that one last year, and that one was something we'd ever tweaked before, where we'd split the scoring for the fumbling versus being, 0 if it's a fumble forced or fumble committed, but then the team that commit the fumble retains possession. But if you lose it, it's then obviously -2, or if the defense recovers, it's +2. Yep. We split that to being 1 and 1, so 1 if a fumble is forced or a fumble is committed regardless of the possession, and then another plus or -1 if if the defense you recover said fumble, or if you're on offense you lose said fumble. The premise I still completely stand behind was a good thing to do with that, because the idea being that if you're committing a fumble, it's objectively a disadvantage to your team, just like anything else. If you threw an interception or whatever, granted that's obviously a complete change of possession, but if you lost 5 yards on a rush or something like that, it made sense to have that. But what we saw in practice was actually that you would have -1 points for the stupid things, like if there was a botched snap or something like that, or the quarterback just dropped the snap, picks it back up, and then completes a pass, which was not the premise behind the idea at all, and it kind of made a bit of not a mockery of it, because it's a fairly small thing, and you could still argue it's a fumble or whatever at the end of the day. But yeah, it wasn't the intended effect. So instead, we reverted the offensive fumble scoring to just being straight -2 if you commit a fumble, nothing if it's a fumble, but retained. But we retained the defensive one because, in the example I just said, the defense actually does actively have to force a fumble to get that point. It can't just be a fumble, it just happens and they get a point. So it kind of made a bit more sense on that side.
100%.
Yeah.
It's just it's logic at the end of the day. So it's good to try things. It's good to especially if it's all agreed on. If it doesn't work, then it's good to change it back as well. So it needs to happen.
Yep.
And it has. So that's what the AGM's for.
Exactly. And we had the customary abstain vote on this particular matter as well. So it wouldn't be the AGM without that. So.
Someone had to abstain once. That was you, Ben.
Looking at you,
that
Ben.
was you.
Yeah, looking at you. Next, we had another review of last year's stuff. So we enhanced the commissioner team changing powers. So previously, obviously, you could just let me know before a game kicks off if you've got a guy that's injured, saying, I want to bench this guy if he doesn't play for X guy playing in a following game. We changed it last year to be that you could basically do that kind of guarding guarantee that you won't be starting an injured player, providing across any span of the week. So if it's a guy you've got playing on Monday night who might be injured and not play, but you've got the guy you want to play instead plays on Thursday night, as long as you obviously say before the Thursday game in that example, if that guy doesn't play, I want to swap him in, you can do that now with the enhanced team changing powers. And again, the idea behind that was just to allow teams to play the people who they want to play. Obviously makes it more competitive because you're not having to necessarily water down your team just because of potential injury, and it worked well. It was used a few times, I think, through the course of the season, and everyone seemed happy with it again. So, yeah,
that's it, exactly. That's it. So yes, I think that things like that, where it's not going to make a massive difference. I think people just say, so that's okay. You don't want to go back to the world where that didn't exist in,
No, exactly, yeah, because it doesn't harm anyone, doesn't break anything, works well, like you say, don't need to go backwards on that one, so it's fine. And then we also reviewed again another one. 2022's AGM had quite a lot in it, really, looking back. The waiver budget being able to be traded. So again, that was another one we added, that you could use your waiver funds as part of a trade, either just a straight up cash for player trade or as part of a player for player trade as well. Again, that was done a few times last year in both examples, I think either pure cash or player for full cash as well. And again, we all seem fairly happy with it. We know trades are a bit harder in the new Superflex format because you don't have that scarcity that kind of creates the demand and everything like that. And obviously having that function, there's no guarantee you're going to get someone decent from that waiver funds anyway, so it's not uncompetitive or anything like that. So again, we just decided to keep that. So happy with that as well.
I'm very happy with that. So I think the way that's one of the things that's actually been quite revolutionary, I think, in the last 3 or 4 years, is that waiver budget and how you can use your waiver budget. That's enhanced the game so much. Yeah,
it's made it much more dynamic than the previous. Just reverse order of standings, waiver priority. Like that, I still think there's still a charm to that, but I mean the way, especially how we've refined it, where it's not just you've got the budget at the start and then that's it, because that kind of equalises it too much. Doesn't allow the bad teams to catch up. Well, we've got this added waiver fund system to boost it. Now you can do this whole element of trading the funds as well. Like you say, it completely customises it and makes it pretty much a level playing field. You can get any player you want, pretty much. If you can with the money you've got.
And this is the thing about the AGM, is that the changes that have been made over the years have not equalised the league. I think that's probably the wrong thing, but made it ultra competitive. So you've seen in years gone, maybe certainly in the last 2 years, possibly in the last 3, you've seen a block of teams who are all competing for playoff spots on the last week. Yeah. And that's what we want. We don't want 3 or 4 teams to streak off in and everyone doesn't care. We'd rather have that block of teams, 3 or 4 teams that are all competing for the last but one spot in the playoffs, and stuff like that. Plus the Superflex system really helps.
Yeah, absolutely.
To provide that. So Long may it last, because
exactly.
That's
why we have
better.
it.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
why we have it each year. Change it, tweak things. Yeah,
it only gets better. I don't think that there's anything that's been done in the last few years that actually made things worse.
I agree. No, yeah, I think
not significantly worse.
No. We've been quite measured in the approach to the AGM. It's never something that we kind of hastily do. We always debate stuff before we vote on it, so there's not that kind of split element and things. So yeah, no, completely agree. We've got a comment here. We have Viv watching. Hello, Viv.
Hey, Viv.
He says he'll have to catch up on the full app later. Just start at about 3 minutes because we were accidentally on mute. My fault for the first 3 minutes. But it's great to see us being back again and looking forward to the season. So we're glad to be back as well, because this actually brings us nicely on to the next point. We did discuss during the AGM whether the pod and I guess power rankings as well would continue, because we obviously try and do this week in, week out during the season, which, as we said on the AGM, gets harder and harder with adult lives. We're all busy, and understandably we also appreciate that not necessarily everyone is also able to then listen in and watch because of said busyness as well. So we really just kind of discussed to see actually how many people are watching this and listening to it, and I was actually quite pleasantly surprised, because I don't expect people to watch every single one and obviously tune in live all the time and everything like that, but I genuinely thought, okay, maybe there's only a few people here, 2-3 people that are actually listening to this maybe on a semi-regular basis, but it actually seemed, not obviously we didn't have everyone on the thing, but the people do listen, and that was reassuring.
I totally agree. It's a useful. I don't know how useful the tool is to people, but whether or not people actually like to hear opinions about what their team does.
Yeah.
I think that might be the thing. So if you like the opinions, if you don't like the opinions, I don't care. You're going to get them anyway.
Exactly.
So
it's kind of part of the deal.
And that's the beauty of it, really, isn't it? So there you are. But no, we're here for another season. We did speak yesterday about maybe doing a review show earlier on in the week and then a preview show later on in the week. So split it up, so at least we don't have to sit down in one go. That might be a thing, but we'll see. We'll see how we go with that. But whatever it is, your favourite bits of the podcast will still be here in 2023-24.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll see if we can do anything to make it a bit punchier as well. There was some good ideas kind of raised on the pod there, so we'll see what we can do in that aspect as well. But no, it will be continuing. Power rankings are obviously continuing as well, but there will be a committee approach to them this year. Tom will be the custodian of them still, if you will, but if he's unable to do it, we'll basically farm it out between me and Chris, which kind of adds another interesting wrinkle, because it's obviously going to have a different author each week, so that's going to be interesting. We
may even do it on here. May even just do a podcast show. I just want
the power ranking show.
The power ranking show.
There you go. So the next thing we talked about was a trade bonus upon completion. So I can't remember who mentioned this to me. Somebody did. I accusatorially said it was Mike on the AGM, and he denied that it was him. Yeah. But someone mentioned that again, going back to, it's difficult to do trades, or more difficult to do trades than it used to be. Having some sort of trade bonus that you would receive an award of some kind for completing a trade was floated as an idea, which we kind of understood the premise of, and actually I think the premise of which we were like, sure, kind of makes sense, but in reality, there's just not really any way of, I think, implementing that or doing anything without being a bit meta or completely pointless, like giving waiver budget just for completing a trade, because that you could just trade waiver players between each other. It'd be completely pointless and against what we were aiming for. So nothing tabled on that one, nothing discussed. If anybody does have any ideas on that for future years, we can obviously look at them, but we couldn't come up with anything like that. We needed Ollie and Viv. Why you guys?
Indeed. Nothing
that's your
feasible.
domain.
Yes, indeed. Next year.
We also talked about the standings tiebreakers for playoffs. Again, something that we've never discussed before. It's just always been a default setting that I just thought it prudent to raise, where the points forward is obviously the split. If you have an equal record, depending whether it's division or a wild card or what have you. So we looked at the different options that we have. You can do, I think, points against, which is a kind of funny one. You could do head record or divisional record as the tiebreaker. But ultimately, we kind of feel that points forward is still the best and probably fairest way. Any of the other ones, the reason points forward works is because it's kind of what you do over the course of a season, which is a body of work. It makes sense as a tiebreaker. Whereas the other ones, if it's head-to-head record or division, something random can happen that we could have bye weeks, injuries, or something that skew that kind of thing. And points against, again, well, the premise, we actually got that. I think that was the one we liked the most out of all of the other options, because we see a lot of the time teams get absolutely trucked with points put on them, and it obviously is a disadvantage, understandably. But equally, if the points forward aren't there as well, if you feel that the bottom team for a reason, granted they wouldn't have the same record, but
it weeds out the lucky teams, and that's what you that's what you ultimately want.
Yeah, we kept it as it was there as well. We also talked about negative DFT scoring because the standard scoring formats on NFL Fantasy, and I think a lot of fantasy sites do allow your DSTs to dip below 0, much like every other position can obviously dip below 0. But again, we felt happy with the hard cap of 0 for the DST scoring. So yeah, we didn't even table a vote on that one, just because it's kind of like kicker. It's a bit more of the random nature of position, and okay, we do see these massive weeks, but typically, dipping into the minuses aren't going to change that a great deal, and it just we felt like, I think it was Ben raised, that it would probably make the disparity a bit more, because obviously at the moment you can have a team that leaks yardage and points, but then they make it up on interceptions, touchdowns, return touchdowns, or what have you, whereas that would get watered down if they dipped into negative points and make the gap wider. So yeah, kept everything as it was there as well. We also talked about another slightly more complex one called injury guarding. So this is kind of an enhancement on the team changing powers, where my idea for this was, and again the idea being that you could have a player that goes down in a game, and obviously they're not going to play for you if they get injured and don't come back to the game. You will lose whatever potential points you would have got from that, and potentially lose game as the results. The idea was that you could submit, before the game kicks off, an order of substitutes that should a guy get injured, say, before halftime and not return to the game, that player would automatically be subbed out for your top substitute. My thinking behind that, kind of similar to the normal team changing powers that we have, is that we obviously don't want games to be decided by injury. That's not the point. They're random things that happen, and it's not really fair to a degree, that they would kind of allow you a get out of jail free card. But obviously we talked about it, and there's things like it would have to be a hardened cut, injured before halftime, doesn't come back, doesn't matter what points they're on, whether they've already scored 3 touchdowns or not, they'd get yanked. You mentioned the point, or someone did, about what if they've already got an injury entering the game, like if it's a pre-existing one, how do you handle that? And then things like that. So I still think the idea behind the thought was good, but again, kind of like with the trade bonus thing, it's just not really a good feasible way of implementing that.
Nah, it's exactly that. So in principle, it sounds like a fair way to sort of fair out things, especially if quarterbacks. We talked. Yeah,
you made the point, especially with because if your quarterback goes down, then it's.
But if for other positions, it's just hard to define, and that's ultimately where you got to. There's no good way around it. So if there's no good way around it, you can't pass it.
No, exactly. That's exactly what the AGM's here for. And then we also talked about the division format. Again, something we've not looked at ever since we became a 12-team league, because as soon as we did, we just obviously made it 3 divisions of 4 teams. That we could have obviously slimmed down the divisions again, gone back to 2, and then it would have been 2 divisions of 6. Or we could even have gone the other way and added another division, and it would obviously make 4 divisions of 3. But again, we kind of felt like the 3 division format is kind of the best of all. You've got obviously the 3 division winners at the moment, the 1 traditional wildcard, and then the points forward wildcard. Everyone gets to play everyone in the season, so you play your division twice and everybody else once. There's a kind of neatness to that. Like how the old NFL schedule kind of used to be. Whereas if you change it to any of the other 2, it obviously makes it a little less. It's not Becky, don't worry. It makes it a little less complex. So happy with staying with the 3 division format.
I think so. I think for this year, it'd be interesting to see how it goes this year, because I am interested in the 4 division format. Potentially. So at least you have.
You could have conferences in that one. It'd be cool.
Yeah, when you exactly. So that's pretty cool. But I think for this year, the 3 division format works. The playoff format we've got has been refined enough. So I think when it comes to things like that, unless there's any real reason to change it, there's no point. Yeah. Because there's always in this current format as well, so you can get through on a wild card, you can get through on points for. Yeah. So there's ways to get through without being a division winner. But saying that, let's see, 4 divisions brings up some options for potentially to talk about next year.
Yeah, sure. So maybe more watch the space on that one. We also floated the idea of obviously we have the wild card bowl now being the 5 division format, where the points forward wildcard and the traditional wildcard play each other in that week 15 game, and then the winner goes through to play obviously the league winner in week 16, and then the other semi-final takes place between the 2 other division winners. We discussed the idea or the ability of the second seeds, so that would be the second best division winner, not the regular season winner, but not the last place division winner, to choose which week their game happens in, because obviously at the moment you have the wildcard bowl, they go through, and then you have the semi-final week and the final. Other than the World Cup, but in theory that other game could have happened in either week 15 with the World Cup Bowl or week 16. So having potentially the second seed have the ability to choose which week they want to play that game in. There was actually some limited cool interest, I would say, in that being a fairly cool aspect that you could do. But we kind of decided to leave it as it was, because I think the kind of general consensus from the room was that, well, from my position anyway, was that while it would be cool and it's a little advantage, really, you've not won the regular season or anything. You've not won the league. You've just beat the other division winner, and the kind of reward could actually be quite powerful. Like if your other opponent has quite a lot of injuries or something, and another week would do them good to heal up, you could choose to do that week 14 game. Is that really fair? It's kind of a bit of a... Again, it's a bit of a meta advantage, isn't it, potentially? And I can't remember if the bye weeks still happen in week 15 or not anymore. I don't know, but we decided against it. I mean, and again, I think you mentioned as well, it makes that week 16 a bit more of a damp squib, because at the moment, while there's only the one game that matters in week 15, the World Cup Bowl, at least it's 2 wildcard teams. It's pretty exciting. Who's going to go through and place the league winner? Whereas if you had the other game, it's just it's the league winner against the wildcard game to see whoever they're playing who's already in the Corona Bowl. So you have that lovely semi-final week where it's quite exciting and stuff. A week after, wildcard bowl in itself was good, and so it made sense to leave it as it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You're dead right.
We also took a look at the QB scoring very quickly, because again, we are 6-point per passing touchdown league. We're obviously 25 points per passing yard as well, but again, we just decided to keep that, not go to the 4-point that some sites use, because it obviously adds value to those running guys. Same with the passing yards, we didn't tweak that for the exact same reason. So it obviously, we know quarterbacks can be quite an advantage, because they do rack up the points, but if you have a good one, typically you'll be weaker in other areas where you've just done a really good GMing job. So there wasn't really much to update on that one. And then we also discussed, raised by Dave Henderson, moving to a new fantasy platform, so a new website or a new app for the fantasy to hold the league on. But again, so all of us on the call, that there's no real appetite to do that. I've not seen any competitors out there be really substantially any better. I know Dave doesn't particularly like NFL, and he's only using it for our league, but I use Sleeper for the Dynasty leagues, and I kind of said I don't particularly like Sleeper that much. It's okay, but it's a bit too new era.
Yeah,
it's not clear anyway. So we've obviously got all our history on there, as you just saw.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
you don't want to mess with that, do you?
we all know how it works.
No, indeed. Yeah, everyone knows where to go, and I think the app's pretty good. Like, it can be a bit janky sometimes, don't get me wrong, but in terms of actually the things you can do, like the project, like, it's really good. Like Sleeper,
No,
anyway.
That's it.
Yeah.
Just no.
And then last one, so AOB, we typically have something interesting come up in AOB, and again, this wasn't necessarily a seismic change, but it is, I suppose, a fairly key tweak to historically how mostly things has been in tradition. So playoff format hasn't changed, still have 5 teams and obviously the 2 wildcard teams, but however, Ben wanted to talk about the wildcard, the traditional wildcard being that 4 seed, having the ability to actually leapfrog division winners, just looking at citing specifically the Winchester division last year, which we know was a train wreck, and was the first time we ever saw a team go 7-7 and make the playoffs, while you had bucking the trend, who I think Mike went 9-5 in the end. He was the wildcard team. He had to play in the wildcard bowl, and he did win, didn't he? He beat Ollie Bidet, who was the points forward wildcard, and went through. And meanwhile, obviously, Pat, though, being the Winchester division, the 7-7 team, obviously got a bye basically a bye to the next round where he played against me. So Ben didn't really like that aspect, felt a bit unjust, so he wanted to float the idea of the wildcard being able to improve, the 4th wildcard that is, the 4th seed wildcard being able to improve their position, which we ultimately did end up with a proposal and agreed to pass it, which basically runs like this. So a wildcard, the wildcard seed, the traditional wildcard, if they've got a superior record to one or more of the division winners, so they've got to have more wins, not equal to, more wins than one of the division teams, they basically move themselves out of the wildcard bowl itself, and then said division winner takes their place. So if they're both 8-6, it's still the wildcard team, but if the wildcard's actually 9-6 and a division winner is 9-5 and a division winner is 8-6, that division winner would go to the wildcard bowl instead. Obviously, if both division winners have a lesser record than the wildcard team, then it's done on tiebreakers there of which of the division winning teams then plays in the wildcard bowl. First seed, regular season winner obviously doesn't change at all, and then the points forward one doesn't matter what their record is as we know at the moment, because that playoff spot is completely untied to a record, so no change there at the moment either. They're already kind of getting an advantage of you wouldn't be in the playoffs anyway if this playoff spot didn't exist, so it kind of does make sense to give them another advantage on top of that.
No,
so
quite right.
What do you make of the proposal?
Well, I voted for it, and I think this shouldn't have to be invoked that often, because
I don't think so.
The way that last year was, we obviously had one completely trash division and one division that was very competitive.
Yeah,
meant that strange anomalies came up anyway. But it's nice to have a methodology, I suppose, in case such things happen again. That does make it, I think, a little bit fairer for that person who's got a better record, obviously has a better team, as opposed to just being a division winner of a trash division. So I do understand the mindset behind it. I get it, and I think that it's logical, but also it's subtle enough that it won't have to be invoked every single year.
No.
And when it is invoked, I don't think anybody can really complain about that.
No.
Because ultimately there is an element of fortune of that person who is the division winner with the lesser record getting into the playoffs in the first place.
Yeah, just because you happen to be in a weaker division.
Yeah.
You can argue some things either way, but no, I think it obviously does kind of step away from how the NFL is. Obviously, we kind of already did that with the fifth wildcard spot that we added anyway, but obviously at the moment, if you're a wildcard team in the NFL, if your record's better than another division winning team, you still don't get the home game, which, I mean, there has been talk in the NFL about even potentially changing that, but again, like you say, it's not something that happens too often.
No.
So yeah, it's a slight change, but like you say, I mean, yeah, because typically, as I say, last year was the first year we've had a division winner that hasn't had a winning record that went 7-7 effectively, and then typically you're not seeing a wildcard team get more 8-9 wins just because obviously if you've got better than that, you're typically winning your division anyway. Yeah, so like you said, the amount of times that this is kind of why I put the kind of Ben called it the more conservative proposal forward of it just being purely based on wins and not bringing points into it as well, because if it's a tied record and then it's on points, well, there's not a lot between the two teams, so I didn't think it made too much sense to then have the advantage given to the wildcard team in that scenario. So Becky is looking at the Falcons.
I might have nicked a Falcons face there.
Do you want?
We're going to pause just for a moment.
We'll step away. We'll keep it going, but yeah, it's.
Listen, we will be back, and when we come back, there will be a race, and it'll be a race to determine who on earth is going to win.
And we're back.
There we go. That's it.
If I was really smart, I'd find an advert to put in.
Yeah, exactly.
If we had any advertising.
Some hold music.
But you needed the suspense ready for the draft order reveal race. So, of course. So we've got the old Dash. You ready to commentate again this year, Chris?
Oh, here we go. So we're on.
We're unmuted as well, so that's good. So you can see I've punched in the team names there. They will be randomised from that order, but I just entered it initially in the reverse order of standings from last year. So we've got everybody there. I go through the next one. So how many times should we shuffle it?
That's it. It's lucky 7.
It's lucky 7. There you go. So let's see. 7 it is. So we've got Ollie at the top, Ollie Bidet, followed by Ollie Gardner Butters, classic. Then we've got Ixan at 3rd, bucking the trend in 4th, Ben Necessity 5th, the Dream Team in 6th, Southampton Knowles, Ross's team there in 7th, Tom's Tyrants in 8th, Bolton's in 9th, Pakistan 10th, I'm in 11th, and you're at the bottom.
That's it. Yeah, I'm out there in lane 12.
So we're happy with these settings here.
That's it. Minimum speed.
Normal speed. Yeah, we'll go normal speed. Seconds per rush. I think that I'm not going to change any of that. I don't. Let's just go with the default settings.
That'll do.
Let's fate take hold. So
luck.
no luck. So nobody got their bribes in time. So
what a shame.
No, so it's all completely up to the gods. No accusations of rigging it like last year. So here we go. The race is beginning. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, and off they go. Viv is out to a hot start. My goodness, he's had his Weet-Bix today. Looks like Viv really wants that first overall big.
It's a three-way fight between him, Ollie Bidet, and Ollie Gardner Butters.
Tom's busy reconstructing his house at the moment, so he's only just got off the line. But
Slapped Knowles, lagging
Ross left his sprinter on auto sprint, so he's not doing too good. So look at that! Look at this! He's
nearly over the 50-yard line here.
Yeah, so
he is. Look at him go.
Oh, Chris, you'll see. You like? I can't let the host of the pod.
Can you imagine if we're first and second? This would be this is bribes galore. That's it. I think Viv's coming out of nowhere though, to be honest. He's through the middle.
He could do. He had that good start. He slipped way back. My dad founding the Fountain of Youth at age 57. That's just coming up.
That's it. Late burst.
Pat, he wants a high draft for this year. No more of this bull crap sitting down in the bottom of the order.
I think it might be Pat.
He's nearly there. Yeah. He's going for it. Pat has sealed the number 1 overall draft spot this year.
Dave.
Yeah, my dad's. What a race!
Photo finish!
Whoa, that was great. So we have. I've got the 2nd overall pick there. Napolitans has got 3rd. Detonator's 4th in that photo finish. Benesessi just crawls over the line there in 5th. It's a real dream team after the good start. Finishes there in 6th. Slowed down right near the end, and you get 7th. Wait, you weren't far behind me long ago, so much for that.
What was that? Where was that going?
I know, yeah.
Oh, Ben, what are you doing, mate?
Yeah, Ben is at a glacier place, but hey, he won't be complaining because he does have the Nathwani rule after all.
That's true.
That it doesn't really make too much of a difference for him. So there you go. There's the final order. So Tom, despite your cheers of lane 8, you have finished in 10th. So much for that. Bucking the Trend got 8th. I think we skipped over that one. You got 9th there, and then Ross's team on auto sprint got 11th. So yeah, just to run through the order one more time for you there. Pakistan at the top with the 1st overall pick. Obviously pending any Nathwani rule changes. Gridiron Gang in 2nd, David Henderson in 3rd, the Detonators in 4th, Ben Necessities in 5th, Dream Team in 6th, you in 7th, Chris Bucking the Trend in 8th, You Are Golden 9th, Tom's Tyrants in 10th, Southampton Knowles in 11th, and Ixan in 12th. What do we make of the draft?
That's it. Now I want to know what it was like last year because it was pretty. For me, it feels quite a similar rundown.
I think there are some similarities. So I know I was middle-ish of the order last year because obviously I ended up with Joe Mixon, and I think Pat took Justin Jefferson right after me. So we're right next to each other again. But obviously in a completely different area of the order. Pat's gonna hate. I tell you, Pat's gonna hate having that 1st overall pick because. He might hate me. There's another one year I remember it was me or him that were going to take Gronkowski, and this was when he was getting a bit up there last year with the Patriots kind of thing. And I didn't take him, and Pat just kind of had to take him out of necessity, and it wasn't great that year, and it kind of fell to him. But Pat also doesn't like the choice of being able to make it wrong, you know. But I mean, at this stage, it's looking like it's going to be Christian McCaffrey. So
How bad can it get?
Exactly, how bad can it get? So last year we had Tom at the top. Obviously Tom was down in 10th now. My dad was there in 2nd, so he's shifted about a bit, moved down a few spots this year. He's now in 5th. But then it is in the top end of the draft once again. He went from 4th to 3rd this year. You are gold. He's down to 9th now after being 4th last year.
Mirror image.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. Ben was 5th last year. But yeah, obviously we'll see. He's 12th at the moment, but I strongly suspect he'll be using that Nathwani, we're all knowing him.
Indeed.
Russ was 6th last year, and he slipped down to 11th this year. As I said, me and Pat was 7th and 8th respectively, so Pat is 1 now, 9 2. Napolitans was in 9 last year, and now he's all the way up to 3rd, so again kind of flipped the order there. Bucking the Trend was down in 10th last year, and he is 8th this year, so not too much difference. You, Chris, you were 11th last year.
I like 7th.
Yeah, nice in the middle.
I like it.
I don't mind a middle spot. It can be a little tricky because you don't get the cream of the crop at any point, but it's nice and consistent and in the middle.
Yeah.
And then we have Viv there at the bottom. Last year, Viv is now in the middle as well at 6th. So some similarities.
Yeah, but no, that's it. Some similarities. But I have to say, by judging by that, it has mixed the pack up somewhat.
Yeah, it has. And I was just going to see if I'd updated anything on here because I do track people's positions in the draft order. We can spend a little time on this now if I've got it. Okay, if I don't completely close the thing, there it is. So I'm pretty sure I've got it from last year. If we go into the almanac here, is it no season stats active? That's where it is. Did I update it? Yes, I did. Happy days. So if we look at Mike first, so Mike, he's typically near the top or the bottom of the order. So 8th, he has drafted in before, went 8 and 6 in 2020. So
it's the highest point scores to date as well.
Yeah, so he'll be happy enough with that, you would think. Ben Assestes, obviously being in the league as long as you have as my dad, you've pretty much drafted all over the shop. But he did have a really strong run there of middle of the draft positions, and then again a bit before that he did it a couple of times as well. So always around 500, interestingly, most of those years, other than that one where he was in the 4th spot and went 10 and 4. So see what my dad makes of that. I think he's experienced. He knows what he's doing.
I think wherever he seems to go from, he seems to draft reasonably well.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Ollie, again, he's no stranger to kind of the middle-ish early spot. You can see right the earlier in the screen, drafted 3rd to 5th. For the first 5 years, and then he obviously slipped a bit back and then kind of moved back the order, and it's been a bit more mixed in the recent years, so I suspect Ollie won't be too disappointed with 4th. You, Chris, obviously you are down in 7th now. You haven't been in the middle really for quite some time. The bad years. So that's about possibly bad.
But the very good year.
Yeah. You had one of your best seasons, still potentially your best season when you drafted in 6th in 2011. So that will be giving you some hope as well. And you went 8 and 6th the year before that as well. But yeah, been quite some time since you've been in the middle of the order there.
All right. Well, there you go. So, maybe that's not cause for optimism.
Similar thing for me. So the early-ish portion of the order, the last couple of time round, obviously it's been improved from, you can see what it was before that, but still not necessarily a great return. So the last time I was in 2nd though, I did go 9 and 5. And then I had a couple of firsts, and it was coin flip which way that went. So again, I've had a few times near the top of the order there. Iksan, so at the moment down in 12th. Ben has never drafted from the very end of the order before, but he has had quite a run of being 10th or 11th there, where that was obviously part of his very good span, so he might not...
It might suit him well to be on the turn every time.
Yeah.
You know, especially that first round, second round turn, is that there's some value to be had there, I think.
Yeah, and it makes things a bit more predictable because you don't have that... You have to roll the dice and see if a guy's going to be available or a position or something. You can just take the players. So who knows? Maybe the Nathwani rule won't be enacted after all. Viv, so Viv is in 6th this year, and he doesn't typically draft from the middle of the order there. You can see he had a 6th in 2018 where he went 11-3, and then a 7th in 2013, which would have been pre-12 team actually, so that was actually kind of more nearish the back end of the order, but went 4 and 10 that year. That is it. Other than that, he's always been at pretty much the top or pretty much the bottom of the order, so That's brave new world for Victor.
That's good. If he can do the same thing as he did there, so say 1,600 points in 2018, that's good.
Yeah, I'll be happy with that. Napolitan's only a couple of years in the league so far. Got 9th back-to-back, so he'll be glad that the same hasn't repeated there, potentially. Now up in 3rd, so obviously did fairly good there, so we'll see what Dave does. Drafting a bit higher in the order. Tom's Tyrants down in 10th this year, so Tom did have a couple near the back of the order and at the very back in 2020 and 2021, which were okay seasons, not great. Again, in 2015, he was at 12th near the back end of the order, went 7-7, and then, but his best season, were 10th, which again would have been the very back end of the draft at the time, did go 13-1 and have his best season ever. So most of the time, not great, but hey.
That's it, indeed. That's it. Some scabby years in the last few, isn't there? So
yeah, he'll be looking for a gridiron gang-esque turnaround this year for sure. And then we've got You Are Gold here, so he's in 9th this year. Again, last couple of years has been higher in the order, had a midpoint in 2020. But before that, did have a run being nearish the bottom end or further or at the bottom end of the draft. Again, 6-8, 5-9, 7-7 in those seasons. But when you've only got 2 winning seasons on your resume anyway, so we'll see. Could be okay. We'll see. It's not right at the back, and I feel 9th. When you're in that lower bit, you can still get one of the good first. It's not that awkward. I'm taking 2nd round grade guys, and then when you come back for your second, it still feels like a firm second round pick.
Exactly
so
that.
It's a good spot. I think 10th and after it can be a little more tricky, but 9th's an alright spot. Ross's team, which we know will be the auto draft for sure. So the auto draft has not executed any drafts for Ross as far back as 11th. The furthest back he did have was 10th, which was only one time, but was the 9-5 2019 year, which I believe was not the year he won it.
2020 was the year.
2020 sub, but that was obviously the start of the auto draft really coming into its own for Ross. So we'll all be hoping that it does not have the same continued success. And then last, Pat Stan, of course. He did draft from the first position, in 2021, where he went 5-9. So it wasn't a great year that year, and I believe he took McCaffrey that year as well. Of course, he got injured that year, kind of causing that. But outside of that, he's never drafted higher than 5th. So yeah, not too much experience there. So we'll be hoping this time around that it's not as punishing as that time. So
no, that's it. Yeah. But a nice order, a very mixed bag for.
It is a mixed bag. Yeah.
A lot of people haven't been in that position before. I think that's what you want.
Yeah.
And obviously, totally random, as you just saw.
Yes, completely. So that is the draft order. I will get that updated on the website, but you can go away and start doing your mock drafts if you really want to now. Even though it's only just gone into July, but at least you know where you're drafting. Ben can start thinking about whether he wants to enact the Nathwani rule, see if he wants to get back to number 1 and get McCaffrey again. Ooh, wouldn't put it past him.
That remind me, the rules now are if you use the Nathwani rule, everyone moves down 1.
Correct. It doesn't completely swap the position of the team, the player that you are entering the spot into. It just knocks everybody else down below that spot by 1, which in hindsight was always the more fair way of doing it, but we also went with the banter option for the first few years. So I think maybe it only got used once.
Yeah, I think so.
So it wasn't too detrimental to too many people.
Yeah.
So.
I think the year it was used, I used it to move into 2nd, whilst you put Ross's auto draft down to 11th or something.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
10th maybe.
Good times. Didn't Ben use it on you actually? That year he was in 1. But he was only back and forth, so it wasn't like and you got Derrick Henry, so you were quite.
That's right. It worked out for one. It might have been. Yes, it was actually because I was thanking him forever for that one. But
2020. Yeah,
2020.
The COVID year. Yeah,
so the COVID year. Did I win? No, I won 19 because the COVID year was.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry, Ross did the year before the 20. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, you were in a. You still? Oh, I don't know.
Don't know. It happened at some point, so yeah.
Yeah, I think it didn't work out for Ben. That's the main thing.
No, so somebody used it, moved up, and I ended up in 3rd, and then got Derrick Henry. Yeah,
there you go. So that is the first episode back, the season kickoff show. Thank you for watching or watching in later if you do. Thanks for coming on and doing it. Yeah. Good to have you back again, obviously from your globetrotting tour. So yeah. Good to be back.
No more of that this year. No. So I will be here throughout. That's it. Can confirm.
Good stuff. Well, yeah. Hope you have a good rest of your Sunday, guys. We will be back with another pod at some point. I don't know what off-season ones we're going to do, but we'll probably mix in a few here and there where we can. So yeah, best of luck with the rest of your Sunday, and Unless you're playing me, of course. I don't know. See you later.